This video is about China flood in 1931. Before we start, we will show you a video.
It produced the deadliest disaster in recorded history. Following the peak of the floods on August 18th, the extent of the damage was surveyed. All told, over 500 square miles of land was flooded, and well over 500,000 people were driven from their homes. Rising water and heavy rainfall swamped a large amount of fertile land, thus causing widespread crop failure. Many residents of the cities of Wuhan and Nanjing, which depended on the rice that was grown in the surrounding countryside, starved to death. Others throughout China died due to disease. Because of an ongoing civil war at the time, the Chinese government had done little to provide flood control measures for the Yangtze, which was known to flood frequently. As a result, the floods pretty much went unopposed. 3.7 million people died, either directly or indirectly, as a result of the flooding.
The 1931 China floods, also called 1931 Yangtze River floods, occurred in several major rivers in China. The flood was caused by different reasons. The first of all, the floods come from the north of Jiangsu in east to the Sichuan Basin in the west. There were many floods occurring in history because many cities were under the water level. Additionally, the main cause of the 1931 China floods extremely weather conditions. From the 1928 to 1930, a long-term dry season seriously affected China.
The lack of rainfall made the river lower and the soils dried up. And in the winter of 1930, there was heavy snowfall. After thawing in spring, it produced a great amount of water into Yangtze regions and floors. In 1931, heavy rainfall happened in the central part of China. The rainfall level reached its peak in July and August. Therefore, the floods were immediately outbreak. Then China also experienced important wars, and the government invested a lot of money and energy to deal with the wars. As a result, they didn't prepare for the unpredicted floods.
According to the data, there were about 2 million people died in this flooding. Because the flooding happened at night, about 200,000 people were drowned when they were sleeping. The flood destroyed huge amounts of housing and farmland. Moreover, because of the deep water, some high-altitude areas caused half a year to discharge the flood. For the low-altitude areas, the situation is much worse. The flood did not subside until the next year. During the time, the fields were impossible to grow crops, so there was a big famine in 1932. Survivors could only eat things like tree bark, grass roots, and algae. Lots of people died in this starvation. In addition, because people lived in the water for a long time, and there were lots of pollutant in the water, a large scale of cholera broke out. Cholera struck 30 cities and counties. This is another reason why there are so many victims in this disaster.
In 1931, China was so backward that the lack of flood control measures resulted in a large number of casualties. Now, China has a lot of flood prevention measures and projects. First of all, I would like to introduce some of China's national water projects, such as some dams and reservoirs. The most famous is China's Three Gorge Project, which effectively intercepts the flow of flood and uses the stored water to generate electricity and regulate water. Next up are flood control measures in some Chinese residential areas. Since many communities in China now have underground parking, people should pay more attention to the protection of such places. People use bags filled with sand to prevent water from flowing into important areas. There are also permanent underground drainage channels along the roadside of the community, which are opened and evacuated in the event of standing water and flood risks.